Hello and welcome to Post Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Tonight, we're going to talk about all the action that occurred in the NBA on this beautiful Monday, December 2nd. Then we're going to break down Yves Missi's monster game against the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to talk a little bit about Wemby starting to improve as a passer and playmaker for his teammates. And finally, we're going to start talking about some trade candidates that could be moving teams. We're going to start with Cam Johnson and Walker Kessler, two guys that I'm a little bit skeptical as to whether or not they're actually going to move or not, because their teams have them for multiple years under contract, but it's worth breaking them down and discussing where their games are as a whole, as they both are having career seasons at this point. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Hello, I hope you're all having a beautiful Monday night over in the United States, Tuesday afternoon here in Australia. Let's talk about what happened in tonight's games before we go back in time and talk about a few other things after we get to Yves Missi. Overall, kind of a blowout-y night in the NBA. There wasn't a whole lot of interesting action, if we're being completely honest. All four of the games ended up being double-digit wins for the teams that won. The Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat 108-89. This was not a particularly interesting game. No Jimmy Butler for the Miami Heat. Jaylen Brown had another 29 points. Peyton Pritchard went off again, as he seems to be doing every single game that the Boston Celtics play. The Chicago Bulls ended up blowing out the Brooklyn Hornets. Cam Johnson, a guy we're going to talk about later on this show, actually did not play because he turned his left ankle at the end of the game that we're going to talk about today, where they played the Magic over the weekend. But Josh Giddey has his first triple-double. Chicago Bull goes for 20, 13, and 11. Nikola Vucevic continued his hot offensive play, 21 and 10 for him in that game. Modest had a nice game, really his first one, it feels like, since he's been in Chicago. 20 points, 5 rebounds in just 20 minutes. The Lakers get totally blown out by the Minnesota Timberwolves. This one, it felt like, I guess that they could have come back. I think it was like a maybe 14, 16 point game entering the fourth quarter, but I don't know. It kind of felt like the Lakers ended up calling it a little bit earlier in this one. No one really played well for the Lakers in the little bit of that game that I watched, if we're just going to be completely honest. Austin Reeves still not playing for the Lakers after he got injured. What was that, last week at some point? D'Angelo Russell had 20 points on 8 for 12 shooting, but LeBron was terrible. AD was not very good. Just not a particularly impressive game from the Lakers. Just a super well-rounded game from the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards played incredibly poorly, and they still won by 29 because Julius Randle had 18 points and Gobert had a double-double. And then they finally got this bench unit rolling a little bit with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid combining for a little over 40 points and 15 assists. It was a really, really fun game, even though for the Timberwolves, at least, it was a fun game. Okay, let's talk about the game that we are going to talk about that happened tonight. The Atlanta Hawks defeated the New Orleans Pelicans 124-112. This was just a super well-rounded game from the Atlanta Hawks, who are now 11-11. They've looked really, really solid throughout the course of the season. They are 6-5 at home. They are 5-6 on the road. Now that they have DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic back, they've integrated Kobe Buffkin into this lineup a little bit as well. It feels like to me that they are just incredibly deep with good players that they can run out kind of all the time. No matter what lineup they have out there, almost, they really do run 10 guys deep at this point, including Larry Nance, who just didn't play in this game for reasons I'm not totally sure about. He might be hurt. I just don't know. Trae Young had 15 assists in this game. Dyson Daniels has 19. DeAndre Hunter has 22 points. The guy I want to talk about, though, is Yves Missi. And the reason for this, and the reason I want to talk about Yves, is because I've wanted to for a little while now. I think he's been really, really impressive over the course of his rookie season. Tonight, he goes for 23 and 12 in what was, I mean, look, if he's played a better game yet, I don't know when it was. He's had big rebounding games. Like he had a really good game against Memphis on Friday night as well. He had 16 and 14. I thought he was okay in 20 minutes against the Knicks. Like he was not their biggest problem in that Knicks blowout win. 11 and 5 against Toronto. He had 16 and 13 against Indiana last week as well. He had 12 and 8 the previous week against Cleveland. So we're on a run here of 6 straight double-figure scoring games, as well as a situation where I would guess he's averaging right around double-figure rebounds in that time as well. And I kind of just wanted to, I've watched a couple of those games. I haven't watched all of those games, just kind of checked in here and there. But I really wanted to kind of do a deep dive into where I felt like he was in terms of his fundamentals, in terms of his overall defensive mechanics, just kind of things like that. Because he was one of the more interesting prospects in this draft in regard to that. Nobody doubted anything when it came to Missi's athleticism. Like he is undeniably one of the most athletic bigs in the NBA and has been one of the most athletic bigs in the NBA from the moment that he got there. I had Missi ranked 20th on my board, and we can just kind of pull up the draft guide profile as I often do here because I find them interesting to look back at in some way, shape, or form. So let's kind of go on ahead. I have this up on my screen here. So Missi, my overall kind of summary here was Missi's athletic tools are superb. While his 9'1.5" standing reach didn't stand out necessarily for a player of this skill set, as in just a little bit more limited, it's more than enough when accounting for how vertically he plays. That's something that's really popped throughout the course of his early career. In many ways, he's one of the safer picks in the draft in terms of projecting rotation players. Players this big, athletic, and hardworking rarely fail. The thing I will say about Missi, man, like all of the intel was just super high level. Really, really sharp kid, really, really high level family, just a kid that you could really buy into reaching whatever his ceiling was. Given his attitude, it's hard to imagine him not at least becoming a backup center. Beyond that, he must clean up some of the technical flaws within his game and continue to grow more comfortable with the ball in his hands when the defense takes away his first option. I believe he'll be a starter eventually, but he has some limitations. His upside is in the ballpark of Clint Capella, a player picked 25th overall who returned lottery value to Houston in 2014 before being traded to Atlanta. It's fun to break down this game particularly because who is Yves Missi playing? He's playing Clint Capella in this game. He's also playing a team in Atlanta that just runs ball screens like crazy. And I thought that one of the things with Missi, if you go back and you look, is that he is somebody whose mechanics and ball screens can get a little bit funky from time to time. He was capable of playing at the level. He was capable of playing in drop, but it wasn't consistent in either of those areas. And Rachel asks, so why was he ranked so low? Because this archetype isn't super valuable? Kind of, yeah. Honestly, given how athletic he is and how quickly it's translated, my guess is I'm probably going to end up being a little bit too low on him, if only because I think there's a chance he might be able to play in the playoffs just with his athletic tools. Being as athletic and mobile as he is, I wonder if he could actually switch a little bit more than what we've seen. But as of right now, he hasn't shown a lot of that yet, which is why I think, look, he's probably going to end up giving back lottery value, having gone right in that ballpark, right? Like I think he went 21st overall, right? It's just that right now the footwork isn't particularly good. and you can beat him on the perimeter, you hope that that improves and that showcases real growth over the course of his career. But it's going to take a minute. Like he's somebody that is still quite limited. It's just the athleticism is translated in every way, shape, and form imaginable. So I thought this would be a good game to break down in general, just because A, he played super well, and B, against the Atlanta Hawks, you're going to face a ton of ball screens. Like that is the thing that you know you're going to get with Trae Young. You're going to be forced to play one of the best ball screen players in the entire NBA in a million ball screens. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to see how he is playing with the ball in his hands a little bit. I think that's really important to his future growth as a player. And let's just kind of dive in and talk through what we're seeing here. So early in this game, right? Ball screen. I think he's doing a better job for New Orleans than he did in college of setting up his screens better. For instance, like he kind of walks up here and then sets this little step up. In college, I think he probably would have just tried to set like a middle ball screen here. But I really, really like the fact that he's kind of disguising where the screen is going to come from a little bit better. So here, I grabbed this one because you see the pass immediately, right? This is something that early in his year at Baylor, he was really bad at. He was really, really bad as a passer. Like couldn't see the court all that well. I think he averaged like 0.4 assists over the course of his first like 25 games. In general, you started to see some growth late in his career at Baylor, those last 6 or 7 games in the short roll and as a passer. And you're going to see a few highlights here. You're going to see a few lowlights here in terms of his passing ability. They've clearly given him some leash and some leeway to say, hey, go try and make a play. Go see what happens. Make the read. If you see it, make the play. So here gets the kick out to Trey Murphy. They reset the offense, ball screen, ball up to CJ McCollum. This is good, right? So what is Yves seeing here on this one? He gets this ball. And this is the important thing here. He gets his eyes up and he's just looking right at Jalen Johnson. He's trying to figure out what Jalen Johnson is going to do here. Is he going to go out to the shooter or is he going to go out to the roll, to the guy at the rim? Now, what you would love to see is him potentially manipulate Johnson and then shoot this down to the cutter, Javonte Green here. But that's hard. Like that's not, this is a rookie who got to basketball late, right? Like he got to basketball. I can pull it up while we're talking. Missi didn't really start playing basketball at a super high level, especially until like, I don't know, 2020, 2019, something like that. He moved to the United States in 2021, went to like an academy in Maryland, then transferred to Prolific Prep where like he got a lot more experience. But yeah, it's like probably right around like 2019-ish or so is when he really started to like care about basketball. So this stuff's going to take a minute, right? The fact that he's able to stop here, and I know I'm stopping here and talking about a normal kick out pass from a big for like 4 minutes, but this is a critical piece of his skill set. The fact that he can even stop here and just make this quick read, I'm comfortable with that as a rookie. And I think it shows that he's going to get better at this stuff as he continues to grow. So McCollum's going to make this shot. We're going to move on to the next one. Here, just a quick little attempted screen there in transition. And we're just going to run the court. One thing that you can always trust with Missi, he's always going to run the court super, super hard. I like this, just a little kind of ass out, sit down screen here, try and get him separated. Trey Murphy there from Dyson Daniels. I like the way that he kind of stands still here for a second. Lets Dyson pass. Lets Capella kind of engage here and then rolls to the rim, delaying his roll just a little bit to create that little bit of potential separation in the pocket. This is a ball that Trey Murphy really could hit here if he wants to. Instead, he tries to go into Capella, but Yves there to clean it up. Never quits on plays. Always can trust that. So here, ball screen stuff, right? Not bad. Not amazing, but not bad, right? So just here, this is a really difficult guard, right? You have to be a little bit closer to the level with Trae Young, and your backside defender just really has to be engaged here. I thought that throughout this game, Atlanta did an amazing job of making sure that McCollum was the guy who was the low end here. Uh, it, I think the Pelicans made it a little easy, if I'm being honest, having CJ McCollum on Ricochet, because Ricochet is typically the guy they like to keep in the weak side corner. And I really don't like Capella, or I don't like McCollum here as the low man. That does not work well for anybody. What I will say is I like that he gets his hands up, tries to protect McCollum here. You really have to be careful on stuff like this with Trae, because Trae is unbelievable at kind of feinting here, like he's going to pick up the ball and then just going to the rim, right? He's already kind of up. He's already high here. You really do have to worry that Trae is just going to be able to zoom by him. But hey, it works out here. It's okay. Trae does pick up the ball. Deflection. Not a stop, but a good play. Missi, get a roll to the rim here. Then we're just going to fight for position. Dump off. This is a really nice touch shot. In general, I really like his movement here. I like the fact that he kind of opens himself up in a lot of ways. To me, this McCollum pass probably should just go there, but given where the camera is, I can't tell kind of what his window looks like here. It's hard to say. I would love to see Javonte Green just kind of put this ball right here. Javonte's bigger than Trae Young. He should be able to get this ball to Yves Missi with an angle. We're going to get into an empty ball screen, though. Misses. Javonte goes to get the ball. Hey, Yves does not make many shots outside of the paint. Good touch there. I didn't love his touch around the basket last year. Let me see if I have any numbers on that in the draft guide. Let's see here. Took 15 hook shots, made only 4 of them last year. That's like kind of an example of that, I guess. 57.8% on layups last year for Missi, which, just given how big and athletic he is, that's way lower than what you would anticipate. That's a good sign, though. This one, I think he does a pretty good job of staying engaged and then recovering. So again, he has to be attached here to Trae somewhat, but he also has to account for the roller here. Again, CJ is the low man. That's going to be hard. I like that he kind of engages Trae here just that little bit. You're going to see as Trae goes up, Yves' arm kind of went up there just to kind of make it so, okay, I have to be around. I have to be engaged here somewhat in case Trae goes up for a floater, forces the kick out, ends up being an air ball. Again, very small, like technical little thing here. He's coming up from this side of the court. You could very easily just get into a middle ball screen. Instead, he wraps around, sets like a little, I guess I would call that like a half step up screen. Step up screens are when, you know, the screener is flat. Step up ish. Here, what I love to see is the comfort level downhill to put the ball on the ground here. So delays the roll, makes Capella engage, opens up this pocket for DeJounte to hit him. And then he puts the ball on the ground once and goes to the rim and finishes. Easy lift, right? You can see just very, very easy bounce off the ground. Always going to be a super high level for at least the next, 7 or 8 years. Going to be a super high level rim runner. There's no question about that. Ball screen defense here again. Really good rep. He's out high. He's at the 3-point line here, hoping that Brandon Boston stays attached. I don't love that Brandon Boston. I don't love Brandon Boston playing defense in general. He does a good job here getting back. Missi does a good job retreating onto Okongwu. DeJounte just gets beat here by Dyson Daniels, right? But hey, that's a long contest. That's tough. I do think that you see here just slightly that Yves is just a bit undersized. Not like undersized, but he's not super long as a center. He is like slightly below average, I would say, in terms of like rim runner, true center, like Mitchell Robinson. Clint Capella, I think, is a little bit bigger and a little bit longer than he is. Yves makes up for it with the leaping ability, but on some level, there is just a lot of value to being big and tall at the center position in the NBA. Here, again, opens up the pocket. Times the roll well. I like here that you can see him literally scan the court. You can see him go here. Okay, first read's not there. Let's get back out to the second read, right? He's scanning the court. He's processing. He's getting through his reads. And then this one here, you see kind of the touch and the layup around the basket. Not always there, but catch. And again, just not an enormous dude. You know, Onyeka's able to get like a pretty real contest on this. Gets the rebound, finishes the play. Here, Missi, pretty good, I think, there in ball screen defense. I think he does a good job here to me. He stays attached until Brandon Boston is back here. Brandon Boston needs to get his ass back in front of Kobe Buffkin. And instead, he just kind of stays to the side. Missi has to recover to Okongwu. Like Okongwu is a real lob threat there. To me, that's more on Boston than Missi. I think Missi did a pretty good job at the touch point there, making sure that he was engaged, making sure that Buffkin never got an open shot until Boston recovered. Once Boston recovers, that's Boston's guy. So here, again, you just start to see some of the footwork-based stuff from a guy that's just very young in the game. So Okongwu just goes off of him, sinks off of him. I like that he attempts a drop step here, and then he just kind of loses his balance. That's 3 steps. Can't do that. That's just some of the growing process for Missi, right? The fact that he's able to have a game where he goes for 23 and 12 is a real statement of where he is at this point. This one, again, another really good rep to me in a ball screen, kind of a, pseudo little screen here where Buffkin goes out. Now you've got Capella coming in for a screen. And Missi has to kind of stay attached to Jalen Johnson, who's a terrific player. Does a good job. You get the Brandon Boston help from the weak side. And his play there, to me, creates a potential turnover there. You'd love to see CJ McCollum catch this ball. But hey, it's a potential turnover. Missi does his job there again defensively. Another little step-up screen, and I just have no idea what he's doing on this one. So, little screen. I would love to see him actually really flip his hips here and make an impediment here onto Ricochet, but he gets enough of them. Pocket pass. He clearly is seeing Bogdanović come up and help. But this is an example of just the game moving a little bit slow for Missi right now, right? In a way that's not great. So Bogdanović sinks off, and Missi, I think, has his mind made up right here that he's going to make this pass to a cutting Javonte Green, because he knows Javonte is going to go. And he just makes the pass too early. Again, not a turnover, ended up being a kick ball, but It's going to take a second. Here, catch, screen, and then we get the lob. And this is just the force that you can see. Yves Missi can play with serious downhill force. And I love this play design, right? I would guess that just this isn't the primary action, right? They're coming off of a baseline out of bounds. I would guess that they're more than anything trying to get a Trey Murphy 3 here. That ends up getting taken away by Okongwu. You see McCollum try and leverage his way to Trae Young here, maybe force Johnson here, which can leave Robinson Earl open. But instead, ends up getting the kick out here into what's, a solid-ish screen. But what this does here, and how CJ McCollum sets this up, CJ, realizes this and then runs through to the corner here, setting up Trae Young is the low man in the play. This is just smart from CJ. This isn't even really a play. And as soon as Okongwu engages here, DeJounte can really put this kind of anywhere in this area, and Yves going to get it. And he's going to go up and get it, and he's going to finish. Easy dunk, easy finish. Real downhill force. Serious downhill athlete here. This one is a bad defensive rep. So screen here. Yves has the help here from Trey Murphy. I know that this is same side, and you don't want to help too much off the same side. But what Missi has to recognize here is that he has this extra body, which means he needs to track Okongwu a little bit quicker here. Instead, and again, very intentional spacing from the Hawks and Quinn Snyder, having CJ be the low man here. He's a little bit late and lets Okongwu get behind him. And once Okongwu gets behind him with Trae Young throwing lobs, he's dead. Plays over. Easy finish. So yeah, just small angles, right? Just needs to improve his play with just the small angles in ball screens. Needs to be just like a little bit more aware. Another little step up. This is just a sick pass from DeJounte. Finish. I think that Missi's touch is much better. I think if I remember correctly, I've seen that he's watched a lot of Akeem Olajuwon tape just in terms of working on his footwork. I mean, this is obscene here from DeJounte. He's got Dyson Daniels tracking back, and he's going to hit a pocket pass here. Really into the second pocket that's going to open. DeJounte is a super creative passer. Just a really sharp, creative player. This one goes up through the contact of Jalen Johnson. Also, right hand catch. That's a hard catch. Good hands here. Goes up with the left, which I feel like he did not have a lot of success with last year at Baylor. Really good finish here. I thought he was a little bit jumpy last year at Baylor. That has continued so far through his early NBA career. Can't happen, right? Just stay big, get big. But I will say, somebody that is this size, as opposed to truly enormous, right? He is 6'10" 3/4 without shoes with a 7'2" wingspan. He's not 6'11.5" with a 7'6" wingspan, right? You are going to have to, at times, jump. Now, the issue here is that he jumps into Okongwu. You can see his momentum go this way a little bit. He needs to just stay vertical. But you are going to have to compensate with that by jumping a lot of the time. And he is going to have to jump. And I do wonder if he will be like a touch foul prone. Not crazy foul prone as he continues to improve and get better. I believe he's going to be super sharp. It's just, he's going to have to just improve that just a touch. Screen. One thing he does here that I really like, just a simple thing already. Look at him kind of wrap Trae Young here with this arm. He forces the switch onto his guard for Okongwu. And Okongwu can guard in space, but I like just that little small thing where he forces the switch. So here, great move once the ball gets in the air. He's going to attack here. He's going to step this way, and he's going to get around Jalen Johnson, who's a really good rebounder himself. Ball kind of comes to him. He tracks it super well out of the hand. And this is the stuff where, I mean, he had no chance to do any of this last year. I know that he absolutely bricks this off the glass from like a foot away, but even like the backspin footwork here to like pivot back underneath to the right side of the rim, truly stuff that he had no chance to do last year. So this is serious growth. Like this is, it looks bad. The result is not very good, but it's real growth. Him being able to even consider that move, given how young he is, he's still 20 years old. That shows real excitement for me. Like I'm excited that he's even willing to consider that on some level. So ball screen into a step up, flips it. Excellent pass. And again, I would imagine that what the Pelicans are teaching him, just given where his eyes go every single time, they're teaching him corner out. So immediately look opposite corner, then here, then out to reset the offense, right? So here you see him. He looks corner first. And to me, he even he's clearly throwing this ball to Javonte Green here. I think he's still looking this way. So I really like this one a lot. This is probably my favorite of his passes tonight. This stuff isn't like incredibly complicated. This stuff isn't amazing. But for where he was last year, where he posted on the full season, let alone including those games, this includes those games where he was actually okay in the later portion of the year in terms of seeing reads. He had 13 assists in 780 minutes last season. So for him to even come close to seeing these reads is huge for his development. So here, I mean, just gets absolutely beasted by Capella, doesn't box him out, fouls him. This is just one that can't happen, right? So he goes up to kind of just chase this ball instead of going to get a body on Capella. Needs to go get a body on Capella. Doesn't do it. Easy bucket. But this one now he's going to chase. He gets around Capella, who does the same thing to him, right? Great play. Draws the foul himself this time. I love the tip out. You just see his ability here to high point the ball just a little fingertip higher than everybody else, right? Tips it down to Green. Drive. I love how he opens up here, creates a nice big target for McCollum. Goes up and under, draws the foul, finishes. Free throw shooting is one area where there are going to have to be some real improvements here. 1 for 4 tonight. I think overall it's not like catastrophic on the season. I think it's like maybe like 62%, something like that. But he's going to have to grow into it. Here, I love the set from the Pelicans using his downhill force. Handoff. DeJounte comes this way. Screen this way. Roll toward the rim. To me, Hunter needs to be over. I believe that's DeAndre Hunter. I will check myself if I'm wrong. But as soon as Missi sees that Hunter is not there, he's just going. I love it. Real downhill force. Again, really bad. Just quite poor here. Quite poor from a lot of people on the Pelicans. But this one, this is an early exit screen from Okongwu. DeJounte is looking this way still. DeJounte really needs to be here. He is just now seeing that Okongwu is at the foul line, downhill, rolling to the rim. Also, though, Missi can't get beat to the rim here by Okongwu. It just can't happen. He's a little too high, a little too far up the court. Lot of errors here. Not just Missi, that's on Murray as well. I would argue that is also on Brandon Boston for just horrendous point of attack defense. Truly bad point of attack defense here. Really bad, but also bad on Missi. He's a little bit too high up the court. Honestly, I would say least bad on Missi there, but not good for anybody. And the defenders there kind of held him, hung him out to dry. Missi here. Again, it's going to be an adventure when he puts the ball on the ground at this point. Decides to drive on this one. I like that he's comfortable with the ball. Tries to hit Robinson Earl on this cut. I just don't think he has enough control of the ball to be able to make these passes yet, much as he would like to, at least on a consistent basis. It's just not a good idea. So here, again, really good. Tips the ball to himself, gets the kick out. Going to get a flyby closeout here. Murray's going to attack, force Bogdan to make a decision. Bogdan's really in a 1-on-2 here. 2 for 1 there. And Murray just does a fantastic job forcing Bogdan into the lane. Kick out. Brandon Boston drills it, but a play that happens because Missi ends up getting that tip out. Step up, just erases Bufkin here. You can literally see Bufkin is yelling, not yelling, but you can see his hands. He's kind of clapping his hands like Pac-Man here. He's saying, talk to me. Talk to me. What's going on? I do think Okongwu calls it out. I do think I see Okongwu say words there. And Bufkin just gets obliterated. And this is going to leave Murray basically on an island with Okongwu. And now we've got Missi just sprinting downhill for an offensive rebound. And that is the last place anybody wants to be. Apologies to Jalen Johnson. Jalen caught him again. But my goodness. That's a big one. So this is Missi's best block or best real defensive possession of the game here. It's hard to get a full read on where he's coming from. But my goodness. Hand on the ball. DeAndre tried to put one down on him, and there was just no chance. Just no chance, guys. Swats that. We're going the other way. He's sprinting the court. CJ McCollum 3. The thing I love about him sprinting the court there, by the way, we've got a real 5-on-4 here. Or 4 Atlanta defenders because he sprints the court. He forces Bufkin into a tougher spot. CJ just decides to pull this at the end. Drills it. Good play. Now we're into the fourth. Not a ton here in the fourth, if I remember correctly. Just another sick offensive rebound. He's just going to absolutely fight and scratch and claw. I love the way that he just positions himself, goes up athletically, taps the ball, put back, super easy. Here, quick little trap. New Orleans kind of adjusted its defensive coverages, I felt like, a little bit more in the fourth. They had Missi play a little bit higher, it felt like, in screens to me. Good example here, especially on side ball screens. He's all the way up here, and they're going to force him to recover back to Capella, something I think he can do. He gets back to Capella pretty easily. This one here, just step up, and DeJounte just kind of like stops moving, unfortunately. You can see him like kind of stand up straight there for a second. I don't know if they called out switch. I don't know if he's supposed to fight through that, whatever it is. But his decision to stand up through there is what ends up getting Missi posterized. It's just a sick offhand dunk from Jalen Johnson. What I will say here is I think Missi could take one more step this way before leaping. But he doesn't. It ends up only getting half of a body on him instead of a full body. And that ends up in him getting posterized. This one, just not super strong yet through his lower half and through his core. Just watch Jalen Johnson just go through his chest here, right? He tries to wall up. And just watch how far Johnson moves him back. Like Missi was about here to start that, and he ends up here. Like he just moved him, 4.5, 5 feet, and just went right through him for an easy finish. Lot to improve on still. Tip back, offensive rebound. I like the way he contests for position here. Just look at him fight around Capella. In theory, he does not have position on Capella here. Capella should be able to get a body on him, but he's just active. He just keeps working. He swims around him, tries to create an opportunity, gets around Capella, gets the tip. Really good. Just really, really good. And then this one, he's dribbling. We don't like that. Let's maybe not have possessions where Yves Missi is at the top of the key with 16 seconds left on the shot clock dribbling. This is where bad things happen. Again, just not enough control of the basketball yet. Like you can see it just comes out of his hand kind of funky. Like it's one of those plays where, if, obviously I'd imagine most people here play basketball, like it just slips out of your hand if you're not particularly great at basketball, much like I was, or much like I was not, is maybe the better way to put it. You just feel it slip out of your hand, right? And that's what this one is. Just slips. Let's maybe not have him dribble at the top of the key. It's kind of setting him up for failure. So this one, just a weird loose ball to finish on to get him up to 23 points. Again, I like the set. It's a nice little double drag in transition, kind of a staggered double drag instead of having both guys set here at the front. Missi's going to wait, pause, and then set the second screen here. Now he's going to get around. McCollum, I get why he does this, but he's just kind of not big enough to deal with Daniels there. I don't love him trying to deal with Dyson there. But hey, Missi's there, cleans it up. Last thing I'll point out here. We've seen a number of left-handed finishes from Missi. Again, I think the touch has really improved from where it was at Baylor. He made 57% of his layups last year. This year, it just feels like the ball comes out of his hand a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. Let's go with. So yeah, that's where Yves Missi is. I would have Yves Missi probably second team all rookie right now. has looked really, really good in games the last 2 weeks, really. And the key for this team moving forward is, can they get all of their guys healthy? They're starting to get healthier. Trey Murphy played in this game. CJ and DeJounte both played in this game. Still no Herb Jones. Still no Zion, obviously. Brandon Ingram did not play in this game either. But they're closing in on a few different guys getting on the court at once, which is a good sign. And if Missi can play immediately, he is a significant player who changes things for them because they need a center. Daniel Tice saw minutes in this game. Karlo Matkovic is on this roster. They need a big. And Missi, to this point, has at least given them a chance. He's at least given them a chance. In his minutes, there are real fundamental areas he has to improve, but by and large, if he can steal 20 to 25 minutes a night and they can go small with, Zion and Herb lineups at the 4-5, they can get by with that. And hopefully try and get back in this thing. Look, things are tough for the Pelicans now. They have put themselves really behind the 8 ball. They are 4-18 this year. They are already 8 games out of the play-in. I don't know if that is recoverable, if I'm being honest. But hey, we'll see if they can get there. I think this team's really talented. My guess is, though, that we start to see them maybe move in some guys. I think they have to move Brandon Ingram at some point, but I thought they had to move Brandon Ingram last offseason. Really just the team this year that got totally snake bit by injuries early on, unfortunately. Nothing you can do about that. Okay. Before we go any further, PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We love PrizePicks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action. If you think Justin Jefferson's going to get more than 83 yards, if you think that somebody like Trey McBride has just been on fire recently, 12 catches, 96 yards this week, you can just pick over for his yardage total and make the rest of your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Second sponsor today, Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth for just $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Okay, second one that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Victor Wembanyama, who is absolutely on fire over the course of really his last 6 or 7 games, I would say, has just been unbelievable. It's just been unbelievable in that time. Over the course of his last 7 games, he has a 34, 14, and 6 game, also against Sacramento. He has that 50 burger against Washington. He had 28, 14, and 5 against the Lakers. He had 25, 7, and 9 against Golden State. He had 34 and 7 against Utah. He had 20 and 10 against the Lakers. And then he had 34, 14, and 11 for a triple-double against the Kings last night. Over his last 7 games, Wemby is averaging 32, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.1 steals, 2.9 blocks, shooting 54, 40, 77. That is absurd. It's completely ridiculous. On the season, he's averaging 24, 10, 3.6, 1.3, and 3.5. That's just like not human. It's not normal. What Wemby is doing is completely mind altering and like brain breaking. We have not seen somebody this good in their second year since LeBron. Point blank. We just haven't. And the crazy thing is, and what I want to talk about tonight is that he is evolving. LeBron in his second season, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 47, 35, 75 in an era which was slower than the one we're currently in right now. Kevin Durant in his second season was also quite good, 25 points, but 6.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 47, 42, 86 in that time. I would say Wemby has been a little bit better than that second Kevin Durant season. What we're seeing in a second season from Victor Wembanyama, it just doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't track. This guy's on track to be, if things go right and he stays healthy and this team gets a good group around him, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is going to be a top 10 player of all time. That's the start of his career that we're headed on. And again, what I want to talk about is the fact that we're actually seeing growth now. And where we're seeing growth is in the passing. Again, about 5 assists per game over that recent 7-game run. Had the 9 assist game against, who was that against? It was against the Golden State Warriors in that super fun game that we broke down with him and Castle. He had 5 assists in a game against the Lakers. He had 7 assists earlier this year in a game against Utah, 6 assists in one of those recent games against Sacramento. Totally took the cake in his game yesterday against Sacramento, where he had 11 assists, a triple-double with 34 points and 14 rebounds. It was absurd. And what I want to call out with Victor is just the way that he's processing things and also the angles that he can create as a passer. That's also what makes it a little bit different comparatively to other people. I don't think he's ever going to be like Jokic as a passer. That would really surprise me. But he does just open up angles with his height that other players don't. His height and his length. We've never had a player who is this big, this long, but also has like real coordination to be able to make these passes. So here, we're in a switch. Keegan Murray is on Wemby. Sabonis is coming up to help. The thing that they did a ton of in this game, the Spurs, they got Wemby on the block a really solid amount and really got him the ball in advantageous positions. So here, this is simple. This isn't hard, right? And he had a few assists on dribble handoffs, right? We're not going to sit here and say every pass is a highlight, but what I like here is that he's already seeing that Champagnie is coming to screen Fox and the Castle is leaking out. And on top of it, I think he's seeing that Malik Monk has his eyes on him. So he just puts it right in the shooting pocket for Castle. Castle drills it. Good work. Here again, trying to get him the ball on the block instead of having him bring the ball up the court. Trey Jones with a cross screen for him to go down on the block. Trying to get a switch, just trying to create an angle as much as anything. This is Isaac Jones. Had a nice night actually last night. He was active. He was aggressive, tried to make it harder on Wemby. But Isaac Jones is like 6'8", something like that. Wemby is 7'4". Jay Crowder has to help. He has to help. If he doesn't help, Wemby is shooting over the top. And that's an open three. I know that he gets his hand up there, but that's just such a clean look for Keldon Johnson, right? And Keldon can shoot. Can really, really shoot it. Easy shot. Goes in. Here. Screen. And we get the switch onto De'Aaron Fox. Why they chose to switch this, I don't fucking know. Like, just lazy scheme. You know, this is the third quarter. I don't know if maybe they decided that they wanted to do this more. Don't give away easy switches to give up a 1 foot height advantage against a top 10 player in the league. I like that they send the baseline help here with Keegan Murray. Keegan times this really well. I like that he gets this beautiful double here right as Wemby steps, just to kind of get him off balance, right? Because he can't lift these feet up again. He can lift the 1 foot up, but he can't really maneuver, and he risks traveling. But the whole time, Wemby is looking. He's got his eyes up. He's really looking here at Harrison Barnes first. And this is where we get like really fun. He's like processing and getting to second and third reads now. So he sees Barnes here, and he has the ability to pass that over the top. DeMar does a good job helping the helper. He helps down. I have no idea what the fuck Domantas Sabonis is doing here. This is not his responsibility. You have two guys on Wembanyama. You have DeMar doing his job helping the helper. Why he's coming into the paint, God only knows. And you're going to see why that's an issue in a second. Because in reality, the way that this should get defended at this point is that Sabonis should be, let's comfortably say it's here. Can be here, maybe. He can't be here when Wemby makes this pass with his momentum coming this way. Really, Sabonis has to be responsible in a 1-on-2. He needs to be able to close out. Because if he closes out here and Castle reverses this, Malik Monk can get here. Let's say that that becomes a reversal. De'Aaron Fox can go back up. Murray can stay with Wemby. DeMar can stay with Harrison Barnes. You scramble. I think this is a great way to put it. He is rebound hunting here. That's just not acceptable. And that's why Sabonis is a bad defender. I see Kings fans try from time to time to defend him on defense. I don't think he's like the worst defender in the league. I don't think he's as bad as like Vucevic is defensively, but he's not a good defender. And that's a pretty good example. So here, again, I mean, why we're switching this scheme-wise, I don't get it. I don't get what the Kings are doing here, if we're being honest. And now this is just like a shit on the Kings video, and that's not the goal. I mean, I love this from Wemby. This is just so smart here. Malik thinks he has help on the weak side. DeMar is like looking out to a shooter, I think. He ends up getting back cut. And I love that Wemby sees it. Like, that's definitely a pass. I know that they said on the I think Mark Jones said this was a shot. This was not a shot. This was definitely a pass from Wemby. That's perfect. That's on the money to Barnes. Here, passing on the move now. Two different skill sets, being able to pass out of a post up versus passing when you're moving downhill. These are very different, difficult things to do. So here, he gets the angle and he's able to drive. His goal here is to figure out, okay, what is De'Aaron going to do? Is De'Aaron going to help up? If so, I've got the pass. If he's not, I've got the dunk. He sees that De'Aaron helps up. Jay Crowder's a little bit too late helping the helper. Easy pass, easy play. Spurs have run this set a lot this year, this horn set where entry pass here, run around the play to go screen for Wemby here. Ball goes over this way to the top. And then Wemby kind of flashes this way. Again, this is just an awesome set to run if you know that the other team is switching. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? And honestly, like, Wemby needs to like anchor his ass down there too. Like, he needs to, I know that there's offensive 3 seconds. Like, you can't just like sit here forever. Champagny needs to get back here and Wemby just needs to like sit there and wait for the ball. But hey, the Kings set this up with this defensive scheme in the second half, right? And Wemby took advantage of it, which is the important thing. Jay Crowder's going to help. Keldon's going to relocate. Jay sits here. Ball's going out there. A lot of this stuff isn't wildly hard, but again, right in the pocket for Keldon Johnson. Perfect. So kind of a double screen there. Now we get into just like a simple ball screen. And again, a switch. Kind of think the Kings just like deserve to lose this game based off of this defensive scheme. And that is the pass. That is the best pass I think I've seen Wemby throw this. He threw one earlier this year where like he held the ball like way above his head and like kind of used the angle that his height creates to be able to like throw a whip pass. I think that was probably the most impressive pass I've seen. But in this spot with 3 minutes left in this game, up 2, this is a sick pass. Perfect communication, nonverbal, between Keldon Johnson and Vassell. Vassell just kind of relocates up. Again, the Kings defenders here are just, I get why Murray is here. I believe that's De'Aaron, or is that somebody else? Or is that, no, that's DeMar. DeMar really needs to get around this now. Like right now. He needs to get around this to Vassell. He can't just sit here and wait for this screen to happen. But this is an example of Wemby being able to create angles with his length. He just throws this right over the top of De'Aaron Fox's head. Right on the money. Perfect to Vassell. Relocation. Drills it. DeMar fights. He gets back out there, but it's too late. But an excellent pass there. That's an unbelievable pass by Wemby. That takes such touch to be able to put this ball right there. It takes such touch. That's terrific. And then this one, again, switch for some reason, 2-point game. Sabonis is just flat-footed. He's just walking. I get why he's here. He's trying to cut off this angle. But you can't be this flat-footed, man. 2-point game, 23 seconds left in the game. You can't let Chris Paul get that shot off. You just can't. Really, you can't switch. That's more on Mike Brown than it is on Domantas, and that was a scheme issue, and I'm not going to sit here and crush anybody on the court for what I think was a bad scheme that they decided to play, the coaching staff decided to employ. But I also thought the defenders were not very good. And look, Wemby's growing. That's the big key here. Wemby is figuring out, okay, if you're going to switch, I'm going to go onto the block. And not only am I going to kill you as a scorer on the block, I'm going to kill you as a passer. I'm just going to beat you. And I love it. I love that that's where his career and where his passing and where his vision seems to be headed. Because that's the next step. That's really like, look, if the shooting comes around, which it has recently, again, he's shooting over 40% the last 7 games from 3. He drilled 5 threes in this game. Went 7 of 9 from the line. He's made, 85 from the line this year? I mean, if this is where we're at with him, league's in trouble, guys. League is in real trouble if we're already at Victor Wembanyama, 20 years old, getting triple doubles with assists. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Okay. Last 2 guys I want to break down. I'm going to start breaking down some trade candidates on this channel because I find them interesting as much as anything. A couple of guys we're going to break down tonight, Cam Johnson and Walker Kessler. We're going to start with Cam Johnson. So I want to note, Cam Johnson, I am skeptical that the Nets will move him. Why am I skeptical that the Nets will move Cam Johnson? Really, it has to do with his contract. Like, he is under contract for 2 more years beyond this one at like $42 million over the course of those 2 years total. And he's a really good player, especially a good player to have around for younger guys that need floor spacing and need vets around. Cam Johnson's one of those dudes. Shout out Pittsburgh. God knows we love our Pittsburghers here on this show. From Moon Township, baby. Went to Pitt originally, ends up at North Carolina for that last year. Maybe last 2 years. But everything that I know about Cam Johnson, really good dude. And a really good vet to have around as well. He's having a great season so far. He's averaging 18 points per game. That's a career high. 4 rebounds. He's not an amazing rebounder, but he's also averaging 3 assists as well. Shooting 42% from 3 on 7 3-point attempts per game. 6'8" wing. Covers ground reasonably well on defense. Not an amazing defender, but covers ground well enough to really make an impact on that end. And he's been a big reason why Brooklyn has been scrappy and competitive to this point. So let's break down some tape. Let's talk about what makes Cam Johnson such an interesting trade target. Look, from what I've kind of been told, if he is going to get moved, it's a high price point. Like, think like multiple firsts, equivalent, right? Maybe it's a good first and a good prospect. Maybe it's 2 firsts. Maybe it's 3 bad firsts. Who knows, right? but I've been told something like 2 firsts is what it's going to be, because they don't have to move him, is the thing. He has 2 more years at a cheap deal. He's still only 28 years old. He's a guy that helps younger teams, assuming that's where Brooklyn pivots here with what is likely shaping up to be a top pick in the draft. He's a guy that helps younger teams develop because of his shooting ability. The price is going to be higher than what it would normally be because they just don't have to move him. So if you want him, like if the Thunder want him, somebody like that wants him, it's going to have to be like 2 firsts, I would guess, is where I'm at. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why. Cam Thomas in this game against the Orlando Magic had 26 points. It was quite good. He's had good games. He's had bad games this year. Mostly has been in double figures, except for 2 games this year. One of those games was recently against Golden State, another team that I think could reasonably make a case for him, but he only played 13 minutes in that game. I think that he might have gone out slightly injured there, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. But outside of that, just been a consistent shooter. Can make him off a movement. So let's talk about why he ends up being such a useful player. So this one, off the baseline out of bounds play, he's going to catch up here because his man falls down. I think that was Wendell Carter who was kind of responsible for him there. We can go back, check that. Yeah, Wendell kind of falls. Batadze ends up coming out high. And this is something that Cam Johnson didn't do a ton of in college and has showcased real improvement on. Dribble with the left hand, attack a closeout, drills the kick out, swing, back out to him, end of the shot clock, which is why he didn't get behind the 3-point line here. But just an awesome team player. This is kind of the perfect prime example of why he works for a contender. Catch, attack, closeout. Corner lift there from Wilson, kick out. Swing, attack, closeout, swing to the corner. He kind of catches his eye on the shot clock, knows he's not going to be able to get his feet behind the 3-point line, and just look at how smooth the shot is. Absolutely drills it. Perfect. Perfect shot. Defensively, look, I'm not going to sit here and call Cam Johnson like an awesome defender. I don't think he's a particularly awesome defender, but he's 6'8", he covers ground, and he does work. So here in this game, he largely guarded KCP. There aren't a ton of defensive clips necessarily in this game, just because KCP doesn't move around a ton within Orlando's offense right now. Here, probably gets a little bit too far over this way, angle-wise. But I like that he fights back at least. He could have just easily given this up. But he doesn't. He fights back, gets back into the play, contests the shot, misses it, which is good. So here, DHO, the shot ended up not going in, but you see here, I think that's Claxton just get absolutely drilled in the face by Jalen Suggs. But you do kind of see here, again, the movement. I like how he gets his feet set. He's one of those guys that can drill shots kind of from any footwork. He can go right, left. He can go off the hop. He can go left, right. You know, he can go backward. He can go forward with his momentum. He's just one of those really comfortable shooters. Kind of sidesteps this one. Nothing but net. They wave it off, but kind of a good, you know, scouting rep at least. So here, not super tall, or tall, but not a ton of elevation, really. I like this one because you kind of get to see, kind of just throws this ball out there against Mo Wagner off the bounce. Tries to go up inside hand to protect it. Wendell Carter is able to go up and get it. Really, you want him probably driving to swing as opposed to like driving to finish at the rim. It's going to have to be a pretty open shot at the basket for Cam to finish. He's pretty good in transition as a finisher. He is not a particularly high level finisher at the rim, really. In terms of like half court, it's got to be really open. He's not going to make through a ton of contests at the basket necessarily. So far at the rim, he's shooting 67% in full court situations. If you remove the transition stuff, though, he's at 59.6 right now, which is a little bit below average, despite the fact that he's 6'8". Just not a ton of lift, which is fine. This one, he's able to just beat Wagner to the basket, right? So no contest coming. I like here that he plays with real bend. I think that's an area he's really improved at as a ball handler, playing with bend, being able to access just a little bit more athleticism. Mo is just stuck in the mud here. And he's able to beat him to the rim. Easy finish. Super simple. Nothing crazy. Here, comes off of a curl, drills one. Just a little flurry here in the second quarter, right? Nice little zoom, Chicago action, whatever you want to call it. You come this way. Off a dribble handoff, takes the screen. Does a good job playing at pace. KCP goes to recover. Mo comes out to him. Just good feel. Good feel to get to that step back. Drills it. Nice high release point as well, it's worth noting, on the shot, which I think does help you transition a little bit better to the playoffs when you can really jump into the shot and also take this with well over a 7-foot release point here. Ball's coming up way, way high. Drills it. This one, again, just always sprays to the corners in transition. You can trust him. If he's in transition, he's going to find the corner. He knows that that's the most valuable shot in the league. Ball comes out of his hand just super cleanly. Drills it. I just like the ability to handle here. That's improved. Gets to the rim. Ends up missing the shot at the rim, but can handle it a little bit. Like, he's not somebody you're going to have be a primary ball handler necessarily. This is just like a little middle Chicago action here. He's going to come off of it and get into this area. Try and get downhill if you can. Try and find that little mid-range jumper. Cam Johnson this season on those little mid-range jumpers. If he can get like right around that elbow area between 10 and 16 feet, he's made 7 of his 13 attempts there. For the most part, he's hunting threes though. He's capable of having that in-between game, which is important in a playoff setting. But by and large, you're looking at a floor spacer here who can really help and can do a little bit more. I like this one. Again, just simple off-ball movement. Quick little ghost. Slide action out to the top of the key. Attacks the closeout again. Forces rotation. We're at 2 seconds left on the shot clock. He probably does just have to go up for this. Misses it, but it gets cleaned up. Again, second quarter still. Same action. Middle Chicago. This time they get the switch on to Batadze. Gets fouled. He's shown a little bit more downhill than I can remember him showing really at any point in his career, if I'm being honest. I love this as well. Mo Wagner's trying to be physical with him, and he just absolutely shoves his ass. Or that's Franz. Just shoves him. Just like, get out of my way. Willing to be physical. Not a super physical player, but willing to be physical. Comes around. Gets the switch. Just a little cross to beat Goga off the bounce. Draws the foul. Just simple. Good work. This one, I put it on here just to showcase. Willing defender. Really good instincts here. Understands what they're trying to do. He's looking this way. He sees his man here getting pinned, sealed up high by Franz. As soon as he sees Suggs make this pass, literally right now, he's already starting his rotation over. He anticipates it. Again, this isn't like a crazy scramble rotation where he forces a turnover or anything, but if he doesn't get there in time, that's probably an easy bucket. He's timely. He knows where he needs to be defensively. This one, you get kind of a vision of the size here. Ball screen. Flips it, and then he just decides to reject it and go. And again, I wouldn't call Cam Johnson a particularly physical player, but he's willing to get physical if he has to. Backs down KCP, a smaller player. Little scoop shot, finish. Love to see it. This one I liked, even though I think this shot goes in. He's down here, and he has to figure out quickly, hey, we're in a mismatch situation here. As soon as two guys here go to the ball and KCP gets this out to Cole Anthony, okay, I have to be available here and help. Even though I'm same side, we're probably screwed. Yes, he's probably going to get this ball out to Wendell. And he does get back. And he gets there for the contest. Gets there to the ball. That's solid. Again, not like a super impact guy. He has like a pretty even wingspan. He's not going to be flying around out there. But he makes the rotations, and he's big enough to where he's going to be able to be available. This one, solid X out, realizes that it's a blow by, gets there and help. Like this is pristine in terms of scramble defense, right? So this is the same play from last time. Hold on. So this one, he's down here in the corner. Here, he's available as the low man to tag once he sees Patadze rolling. Patadze hits the corner. Keon Johnson is too far in. This is a bad play by Keon Johnson. Keon Johnson is going to have to shoot out. That's an X out. As you can see by Xing out, Keon goes here. Cam Johnson goes here. Perfect. The way it's taught. Exactly what you're looking for. Keon just blows by. Cam tries to fight back, gives them a chance. They end up getting the ball. He's going to give you a chance on defense. He's not like a crazy difference maker, but he's going to be in the right spots, and he's not going to kill you. This one's a lefty. He feels like lefty drive, feels like he gets fouled. Quick little DHO. I mean, you can just see KCP is still just sick getting back into these plays. He's so crafty. Goes up. Right foot. Tries to wrap around the rim. I think he thinks KCP catches him like right here and throws off his balance. Doesn't get the call. What can you do? Here he's guarding Cole Anthony. Jet Howard, maybe. Not sure who that is. Can't tell with how blurry it is. But does a good job. They decide to switch this. He sticks with Franz. It's a better matchup. I believe that's Cole Anthony. Does a good job just forcing him into the help and then getting the contest, right? He knows that he's going to have help here coming over. Gets the contest. Perfect. Exactly what you want. Does a good job looping behind the ball handler here. The best transition shooters, this is what they do, guys. He's all the way back here. He knows that if he loops around, it's going to be really hard to guard like a DHO situation in transition when you have all this space because guys have to go to the rim. Just look at this balance. I mean, straight up and down. Drills it. Perfect. Again, attacks the closeout, but gets to a step back. I like that he's very comfortable with the left hand, very comfortable with the right hand as a righty as well. Just misses it, but that's a shot we're always comfortable with. Switches here onto Wendell Carter. This one's not a great defensive rep. This was actually probably the worst defensive rep that I saw. I popped it on here just to kind of show that I wouldn't call him super comfortable dealing with like bigger dudes in general. Like if he's switched on to a center, I don't feel awesome about it, despite the fact that he is as big and long as he is. He's just not great at that specifically. Here, he just kind of is camped out in a 1-point game in the lane, has no idea where his man is. It's too easy for Suggs. Just pops it up. Easy. I think he thinks he might have help coming once he sees that Suggs has beaten his man. I think he's hoping that one of Wilson or Schroeder might help the helper here. But I don't know. I think that that's just a little bit too inactive for me at the end of the day. Again, drive. If you can get him in like semi-transition opportunities, like this one where he can like use his length and extend out, pretty good. Pretty good in these situations. Also against rookie Tristan Da Silva, not super strong yet. He can just kind of power through those guys. This might be the last one. So here, ends up kind of spraining his ankle here. I put that on here just because, hey, could impact his value at the end of the day if they do decide to move him. Hopefully he's healthy, right? More than anything, we hope that he gets better. Didn't play tonight. They're saying day to day, so it's not expected to be a significant injury or anything. But Cam Johnson looks great right now and looks like the kind of guy who could be a real impact player for a number of teams. Like if you could put him on Oklahoma City, I mean, it'd be amazing. I think they could use someone a little bit more physical than Cam, but elite shooter, space the court for all these dudes. They'd know exactly how to use them there. The Lakers could use him, but the Lakers could use everybody like this, right? He's a serious upgrade on Rui, but to me, I just don't see. He's not a good enough defender for me for the Lakers at the end of the day. You could look at the Cavs maybe. If the Nets were willing to take back like a Schroeder, I actually think that the Cavs kind of need Karis LeVert maybe as like a backup guard. A Strus, not a Schroeder. I'm sorry. Maybe the Nets would like Max Strus. Wouldn't be impossible to me that that's the case. I quite like Max Strus, but I also think Strus would be really, really helpful. He from Pennsylvania. He likes Philly. My man. You don't know people from Pittsburgh. Definitely not the case. Look, I don't know. Maybe he's fine with Philly. I'm not saying he doesn't like Philly. He might, but don't just assume that he's from Pennsylvania means that he likes Philly. If he's a Pittsburgher, much like I am. There's not a whole lot of love there for that city. The Rockets for Cam Whitmore. I mean, I think Cam Whitmore is awesome, so I probably wouldn't do that. But who knows what Rafael Stone is thinking? Obviously, the Rockets are going to have to do something like that. I mean, Cam Whitmore would make a ton of sense for them. In all honesty, as a Cam Whitmore in one pick or something like that, super high upside swing for the Nets. I'm sure that's kind of that's what they would love to get, but I don't know that that's what the Rockets need. I think the Rockets need more of a shot creator as opposed to a play finisher, more like Cam. I mean, maybe the Nets would do something like a Okoro and Jalen Tyson and a pick or something like that, but that doesn't even get you there math-wise now that I'm looking at it. It'd have to be like, it'd actually have to involve like LeVert. It'd have to be like a LeVert and Tyson and a pick or something like that to do it. If the Cavs wanted him. A couple other teams. I mean, he'd be amazing in Dallas. I have no idea how Dallas could do it, but he'd be just unbelievable in that scheme. I don't think the Bucks really have any mechanism to do it. I don't think Phoenix has any mechanism to do it. I mean, just kind of looking through all the other contenders, like Boston doesn't really have a mechanism to do it without trading one of their core pieces. The thing is too with Cam, like I wonder if it expands beyond the contenders as well. Cody Mueller brings up a team like the Spurs. If they want to accelerate things, yes, that would be really fun, actually. Kind of like a supercharged what they've gotten from Harrison Barnes to this point. It could be a team that's not a real contender that sees, okay, he's got 3 years left. Like this could really help us long term. Something like that could make sense. But look, I think he might get more than anybody on the trade market if he was to get moved, just because he is signed long-term on a good deal. Like that 22 million as the cap rises over the next 2 years, like that's going to be under budget for what a normal starter is. Yeah, like Detroit with Cade and Ivy. Great idea. Like truly, like guys like this who can shoot, wide marketplace, shoot and like be not a sieve on defense, wide marketplace. A lot of different teams that will probably try to reach out. And because of that, and because of him having, a career statistical year as well, and having proved that he can be a starter on a team that made the finals in Phoenix already, he is a guy that I would expect would get real value. I would expect he would get more than somebody like Brandon Ingram on the trade market. And that might surprise people, but Ingram expiring deal hasn't really been a piece of a winning team yet. Kind of an awkward fit. I would expect he would get more than somebody like Brandon Ingram on the market. Okay, let's go to the second trade candidate that we wanted to talk about today. Walker Kessler. So why am I going to talk about Walker Kessler? Typically, guys like Walker Kessler do not get moved. Walker Kessler is still on his rookie scale deal. He is extension eligible this summer. And he is an awesome defender, guys. He is a fantastic, fantastic defender. On top of that, I think he's been a little bit better offensively than what we've seen in the past, which is really key. $10.5 points, 10.4 rebounds, 1.4 assists, not much of a passer necessarily, but 2.9 blocks per game, shooting 72% from the field, decent screen setter. I wouldn't say he's an amazing screen setter, but he's an okay screen setter at times. But defensively, literally any metric you look at, I mean, I'll pull up my guy, Tim, Cranjis McBasketball, who I think does really, really good work. He posted recently the Kessler profile on his site, B-Ball Index, in terms of what it looks like defensively. Shout out to Tim. A+ rim protection, A help defense, A- help defense activity, A+ post defense, screener rim defense, A+. Like around the basket, his interior defense is elite. There's just not another way to put it. He is a fantastic interior defender. Does an amazing job at it. He's just always available, always active. And he does a really good job, I think, in ball screens of keeping that gap between the ball handler and the roller. That's always what I've loved about him. He is excellent at being able to kind of mind that space. In terms of what a price tag would be, I would expect he gets more than a first rounder. I haven't asked around quite as much about him as I have with Cam, but he has $4.8 million next year. Even if you have to extend him this summer, I mean, like, what's the comp here? Like the Pirtle deal, maybe something along those lines, like 480, maybe a little bit of a tick up for the cap going up. So like 490 ish. That'd be the highest I could envision, in all honesty. Guys like this don't get like, a max deal. Guys like this don't get crazy paid. So I see this as like a really interesting player if the Jazz are willing to move him. If I'm the Jazz, I'm not moving him. I'm just going to say that out loud now. Now, what's complicated about the Jazz is that as of right now, they don't have anything to actually weaponize him as an offensive player or really as a defensive player. They are among the worst perimeter defensive teams I've ever watched. Keontae George is really bad on defense. Colin Sexton is just very small. Jordan Clarkson is not a great defender. They lost Taylor Hendricks, who I think was a really good defender, and was developing into a really good defender. And then it's just a lot of kids. Like there are 3 rookies this year: Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Bryce Sensabaugh, last year rookie, right? Like Sensabaugh has always been a really bad defender. So they hang him out to dry often and ask him to clean everything up for them. And he's one of those dudes where if you watch the tape, you feel way better about what he's actually good at. Like, again, like if you look at the on-offs, they aren't crazy. Like they're slightly better with him on the court versus off the court defensively, but I think it's because he plays with a lot of bad defenders. And if you look over the 3-year sample, they're about 4 points per 100 possessions better with him on the court defensively versus off the court defensively. John Collins also like not a great defender either. He really has to do everything to kind of hold up this defense. And I think he'd be a tremendous get for a number of teams. I think he'd be really, really helpful for a bunch of basketball teams that could use an awesome 20 to 30 minute per game big man. Right now, he's playing about 28 minutes per game, has started 14 games. Limited with the ball in his hands, but a really, really terrific interior defender. So let's kind of dive in and talk about Walker Kessler and what makes him such an interesting trade target this deadline. So here, got him camping out in the corner for reasons. He eventually gets to the dunker spot. And I like the set, right? I like the way that this sets up is like a little horn set where it's like a horns wide almost, right? Where ball comes here, inbound it, Lowry goes here. Then you've got Colin Sexton coming up to set a cross screen. While Keontae goes to the corner. It's a really sharp set to set up AD to have to help up, especially when you're involving Dalton Connect, who is an adventure on defense right now. But by forcing AD to help up, you're now just letting Kessler filter into this area. Dump off, easy finish, just an enormous human being. Like, you remember we watched Yves Missi here a second ago? I guess an hour ago. Walker Kessler is like a legit center-sized human. Yves is like 6'10 and a half, 7'2" wingspan. Kessler's like 7 foot, 7'4", and like has wide, enormous shoulders. Like, he looks like a big. I remember when Walker was growing up, I think he's from Georgia, if I remember correctly. His family's like, all these Georgia basketball players. I think his uncle and his dad played there. And he grew up like as a shooting center as well. That hasn't really translated to the NBA, but he is somebody that I think at least has like good hands and you can trust to finish around the basket. So here, what I like, it's hard for bigs to get over stuff like this a lot of the time. I like how he gets around the screen here, flips. It's just that AD kind of catches him, right? And is able to seal him. It's a sharp action. Really good screen from Gabe Vincent. Ends up having to foul him. But I like that he fouled him enough to where he missed. If you're going to get sealed like this, you got to foul him enough to make it worth it. Does a good job, at least making him earn it at the stripe. Not ideal, though. I didn't think this was Kessler's best defensive game of the year by any stretch, but I thought he was pretty good. If you go through the minutes, AD had like 33 in this game, I think. AD was on the court. I think I counted for like 8 minutes that Kessler was off the court, and he scored 13 in those 8 minutes where Kessler was off the court. So keep that in mind when you see like AD has 33 against him. He really, I think, did a pretty good job of making AD work for it, at least. So here, I mean, just absolutely enormous, right? What are we running? We're running a middle Chicago for Dalton to come up and take like a screen and try and get downhill. Keontae takes, a truly catastrophic angle around the screen. Where are we at, man? Where are we at, Keontae? He at least gets back to the hip. And I love this positioning here from Kessler. Kessler's cutting off a potential pocket to AD. But also, his foot's out here, which means if Dalton goes up, he's able to go get it. This is perfect positioning. Goes up and gets it. Elite. Everything you could ask for. So here in an island or on an island against LeBron, you can see just at least how much opposing teams like respect him in his ability to turn and recover, his ability to get back into the play, and his ability to block shots. Like, they're just not really attacking him. He's going to stop and pull up here, LeBron. And the other thing I want to point out here is just look at his feet. He's constantly moving his feet. Remember, like Domantas Sabonis, who we watched earlier. Like, Sabonis is always like getting a little flat-footed in situations. Look at him tapping. He's trying to keep his feet active, trying to keep his feet engaged in the play. Great job. Forces the miss. Really good. He just takes up a ton of space and is able to cut off angles really, really well. So screen, easy pocket, good finish. Again, layup finish. I like the Jazz offense. I think in general, Will Hardy does like a pretty good job with a team that just doesn't have as much talent as other teams in the league. Screen here. Going to get downhill. Just notice the architecture here. Dalton Connect is the low man instead of LeBron, right? That's the man you want is the low man in this scenario. Connect just not going to make an impact there. Kessler does a good job. Good touch. Good finish. Ram screen there to get AD the ball. Kind of a down screen, really. Sets up like it could be a Ram ball screen here. So a Ram screen here. A lot of the time would be to come up for AD to go screen for Connect. This is just kind of a Ram down screen here for AD to come up and get this ball. And again, you can just kind of feel that opposing players just like kind of respect Kessler's ability around the basket. And just look at how he's walling up here, right? He takes that bump, arm up, tough contest on a guy that I would have in the top 5 for MVP right now. Perfect. Perfect, post one-on-one defense there. Here. Again, just really good positioning. This one, the pocket is almost always going to be open in an empty side just because Kessler has to be like somewhat attached here deep in this drop. Really, they're icing it. They're hoping that Connect takes a shot like from inside this area here. They're going to be comfortable with that. But he's able to recover immediately, hands high, so that AD can't catch and shoot this. Look at how high his hands are immediately upon this catch. AD is not going to be able to immediately shoot over the top off the catch. Because of that, forces the drive. AD throws this wild ball. He ends up with it. Kessler does. Turnover. Great work. Into the second quarter now. I just love how he opens himself up here in the dunker spot, right? Weird miss. AD has to help. Opens up his hips. So it's just he can catch and go up immediately. I would like to see him catch this high and keep it high. That's, he catches it up there. Keep the ball up there. He dips it, but he ends up finishing it anyway. Again, layup finish. A guy that has no issues, as far as I can remember, really making layups. Again, has touch from having grown up, like playing a little bit more on the perimeter, having just like good hands, good skill level when he was in high school. Look at his shot type data real quick on Synergy. It's made 63% of his layups so far. Not quite as good as what I expected, to be honest with you. I do feel like he generally is comfortable in those situations. Here, one-on-one defense again, just kind of gets beat. You're going to get beat sometimes by the best players in the league. I think that he thinks he might have help here. But because of the way that this sets up, with Connect just driving his man through this way with this screen, he ends up just kind of opening up his hips a little bit. I think that he thinks he's got this man in help, or that it's going to be a screen. And then he just kind of opens the hips a little bit too far. But that's not a great possession, obviously, defensively. Again, kind of a similar-ish action where Connect is going to try and drive his man through here. I believe that's Micah Potter. Connect gets this little just like hip screen here. I love this. This is awesome architecture from Redick. And Kessler still just gets back through it and blocks the shot. His recovery is really ridiculous. His ability to get back in the play is just fantastic. And because of that block, Jazz end up getting an open three off of his own kick out. Again, just look at the processing, looks out here to see if Keontae is available. Keontae is like half paying attention, it looks like, just waiting to get back in transition defense. Sees that John Collins is in the corner. Collins sets up, knees bent, prep for the shot. Drills it. Good work. Perfect. Again, really good job getting through that screen and making it so that AD has to start this higher. I think the Lakers are a really good screening team by and large. I think Gabe Vincent is also just like a really good screener in general. The play here is for AD to be able to get pretty deep on the block here. But Kessler fights through it, makes it so he's going to have to work. Now we're empty side one-on-one against an MVP candidate. I mean, hey, sometimes those guys score, but for Kessler to be able to hold his own here, walls up, gets his chest on his shoulder here, forces the tough shot. AD plays for the foul. He contests while going backward as well. Perfect verticality. Doesn't jump into AD, jumps backward. Perfect. Here, just gets a little out over his feet a little bit, but positioning wise does a really good job up until that moment. Christie takes this. I love that he's attached to both AD and the ball handler. He just kind of goes up high. Falls for the pump fake. Shouldn't have fallen for it, but the positioning's really good. Screen. Really good screen there. In my opinion, that screen is the big reason why this ends up being an open shot. Just absolutely drills Jalen Hood-Schifino. Him screening Hood-Schifino here throws off the rest of the Lakers defense. This is a Spain ball screen, stack ball screen, whatever you want to call it. Lowry does a great job getting his body on AD. He's going to come up here. It's really hard to guard these if this guy gets screened hard. It's really hard to guard these. This could go here or here, depending on this defender here. Rui decides to go up to the wing to guard Lowry. Good decision, right? Lowry's an elite shooter. Collins still drills it, but it starts with the Kessler screen there. Really, really good work. Okay, ball screen. Recovers back to AD. Perfect, right? So, screen. Keontae gets through it. I don't know what that is from Keontae. The first one was good. The second one, he kind of jumps like he's about to get hit when no one's actually there. I don't know, guys. But great from Kessler. Controls Christie there. Recovers back out to AD. Recovers with enough balance to be able to backpedal here on this drive against a big and against an MVP candidate. Great work. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is why Walker Kessler is such a good defender, guys. He's just really good. He does an awesome job with his positioning and by using his body. He's an enormous human being, like a truly just enormous human. Sexton goes up. He's got Vincent sealed. He's got Connect sealed. Easy tip in. Throws it down. That time he does keep the ball high, which is good. So screen here. Wraps screens for Lowry. Just really excellent screens there to get Lowry that attempt at the rim. Now we're going to get Sexton here. Sexton throws this ball up for Kessler. How did he get that open? Good question, guys. How does Walker Kessler get this open here? Is it because Rui goes to help? Yeah, Rui goes to help. Here, AD is late helping the helper here. Again, from Kessler's perspective, does a really good job just kind of opening himself up. He's kind of walking back this way, then sees that Rui turns, and he just immediately comes back and he's like, oh, I'm going to get this. Perfect. AD just kind of goes through him on that one. not much to be said here. Again, sometimes MVP candidates just beat you. Does a great job getting leverage on Kessler there, then goes up through the contact. Good work. Again, hey, Anthony Davis beats everybody. I think Kessler made him work a little bit harder than most do, though. In this one, I actually really like this play. Like, I know that LeBron scores. I think this is good positioning. Like, I think this is exactly where you want Kessler to be. He's here and drop. He's going to stay attached to AD. Remember, we watched Yves Missi get beaten twice in these circumstances where AD would get behind him. Here, he makes sure AD's in front of him. And then he goes to kind of bat at the ball, gets back to AD. I mean, really, like, look, I get that this is Keontae George, but I would like to see Keontae, like, give a little bit better fight to get back here on LeBron. I mean, I highlight this not to, like, shit on Keontae necessarily, more just to showcase, like, this is what Kessler's been dealing with on defense, guys. Like, this has been the issue for him. Instead of, like, trying to get back into position here, Keontae is just standing here and waiting for LeBron to contact him. He's like, oh, it's coming. I know that. I'm just going to stand here. I'm going to stand on his hip and not do anything. So Kessler has to play 1-on-2 literally for 30 feet here. Sorry, literally for 26 feet, right? And he does a pretty damn good job playing 1-on-2 here for this much distance. Like, I don't know what more you want him to do there. Like, that's pretty good, I think. So here, why did I grab that one? Just drop. Not sure why I grabbed that one. Didn't do anything crazy there. Goes to grab the rebound. So here Kessler is on Rui. He's quick enough to deal with guys like this. So steps out a little bit more of a hop than I typically like, but he's light enough on his feet to where he can stop, change direction, come back this way. Forces Rui out wide. Now he's going to take LeBron, contest that shot. LeBron was truly not very good in this game, but perfect again. Little rub screen there, entry against Kessler. They decide to double AD. Kessler recovers back on to connect perfectly. And he's just really good at understanding how big he is and what his length is on defense. So they send the double, kick out. Kessler has to go find a man. It's either going to be him or him. He's looking to see what I think that Sexton is going to do on the backside. So Sexton goes up to the wing. He's got the corner. He gets out to the corner. Active feet. He helps off just a little bit here on a same side against a great shooter, but he knows that he still has all of this length to be able to get back and contest this shot. LeBron assumes that he's going to be able to hit that same side as soon as Kessler gets one step into the right. But because he has enough length and he's light enough on his feet, it's hard to do that with him. So here, again, ball screen, keeps everything in front. That's textbook. You can't teach this better. This actually was a little bit better of a defensive game for Kessler than what I remembered. Backpedals, keeps everything in front. Pocket pass, contest. That's the shot that the Lakers want AD to take. A floater from 12 feet, 10 feet, whatever that is. It's exactly the shot the Jazz want him to take. Rebound. Now we're at 226. He's in the corner, goes out, gets a dribble handoff. This is just something small, but this isn't stuff that I thought he did super well last year. He just gets in and seals AD just a little bit as Sexton is coming this way and makes it so AD can't really contest that. That's really good. And that's a bucket for Sexton, not a tip in. But that's just really small, post seal action that is important. Really, really important. So here again, can't do it better than that, guys. Drop. He knows he has a defender that he's going to have to guard LeBron the whole way. Perfect contest. He was a lot better defensively in this game than what I thought he was originally. Screen. Rolls to the rim. Again, tries to seal Christie. Doesn't have to, though. Gets the bucket. Easy finish. Look, if I'm the Jazz, I'm trying to build my defense around Walker Kessler. I'm not trying to move him. I'm just not. But he consistently comes up in trade rumors, consistently comes up for teams like the Lakers, which is part of why I did this one. If I'm the Lakers, I absolutely want Walker Kessler. I absolutely want him on my team. He would help the Lakers immensely on defense. Would help them so much on that end of the court. But here's the thing again, like every team in the league can afford him. The Phoenix Suns, who have like no trade flexibility whatsoever, can absolutely afford him. They can do something like Josh Okogie for him and something if they want to. And he would help them immensely too, by the way. If I was the Jazz and the Suns offered me a 2031 unprotected first, I might consider that for him, in all honesty. But that's the only thing I would probably consider from the Suns. Look, he could help the Suns a lot. I mean, look, like the Kings, you can't play him and Sabonis, I don't think. I don't think that's enough floor spacing and shooting. But I'm intrigued by them, making a call at least because they need defensive play. Someone asked about the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks have Capella and Okongwu. Like, why give Okongwu that contract if you're not going to try and use him as the big of the future? They also have Larry Nance, who is extension eligible. Like, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. A team that I think he would be kind of interesting on, obviously, would be the Knicks. Like, the Knicks have the ability to do something like this. It's just hard because they don't have their picks anymore. So it'd have to be like Deuce McBride and something for him. And that doesn't feel great. The Pistons would be amazing. Yes, I would absolutely rather have Kessler than Jalen Duren. Like, no questions asked. Other teams that could like really use a big. Denver just doesn't have like the pick capital necessarily or the prospects unless they're willing to give up like Peyton Watson or something. To me, it is the Lakers. They're kind of the team that tracks for me with Kessler. I mean, the Pelicans, that's another team. Shout out Muhammad. The Pelicans, that's a team that makes a lot of sense. But they just drafted Yves Missi, so like, are they really going to invest like a couple first round picks of value in Walker Kessler? I don't think they're going to do that necessarily. I mean, the Bucks, like, that would be an amazing idea for them. Brook Lopez is a free agent. You could try and do like a 3-team deal where you send Brook Lopez somewhere else and bring back Walker Kessler as like your center of the future. But obviously Walker doesn't shoot, so it's not quite as appealing. To me, the team remains the Lakers. They have the pick capital to do it. They have the deals to do it. Jazz also have some other guys that, like, if you think Jordan Clarkson can turn it around, like that could help. If you think Colin Sexton can turn it around, Sexton's been okay this year. I shouldn't say he needs to turn it around, but Sexton could help them. Lowry is not trade eligible until the offseason, guys. So I just want to throw that out there as well. But yeah, look, I think that Kessler could help any number of teams. And to me, the team that tracks best is the Lakers. And on top of that, the Jazz own a future Lakers pick that is protected. That pick is protected top 4, I believe, in 2027. Could you do something like send a first and unprotect those top 4 spots and get Kessler? I think I would do that if I was the Jazz, in all honesty. That seems interesting to me. And it solves the Lakers center issues that they're having. I'm kind of into that. That tracks to me. Chattacabra asks, Lakers also linked to Valanciunas. How big of a difference is Kessler for them to spend more assets? They're just totally different players. Like, Jonas can't really play in a playoff series at a super high level, I don't think. He's an ass kicker. He's a great rebounder. But I'd be worried about him playing in a playoff series. I think Kessler probably will be able to play in playoff series as a drop cover big. But the offense will be a question. With these bigs, oftentimes it's more the offense that keeps them off the court than the defense. If they can't space it, can't shoot it, things like that. So it's not a certainty Kessler would be able to. Jonas will be able to play like 10 minutes a game in the playoffs. But I don't think it's much more than that. Kessler is, to me, a drastically better player at this point. And I love Jonas, but I think is like a potential piece moving forward for your team. I would rather have Kessler by a pretty real margin. And on top of it, you'd only really have to move one pick if you're the Lakers, which would open up you still having 2 other picks to use in deals if you would want to. If the Jazz would be willing to accept, hey, we'll take the protection off of that pick that we owe you in 2027 when we think LeBron is probably going to be retired. And we'll give you, some protected first. I don't know. That feels like an interesting construction to me. But if I'm the Jazz, I don't know. At some point, if I'm the Jazz, I have to start building a defense. They've been abysmal defensively over the last couple of years, and he's the guy that they can do it around. So I might want to keep him. And it's not like their books aren't clear enough other than Lowry to where they can't just do something like that anyway and give him like 20 million a year or whatever it is. So I don't know. I like Walker Kessler as a player. If they decide to move him, he'll help somebody. He will definitely help somebody in the regular season. I know that. Okay. This has been Post-Game Theory, guys. I appreciate you all coming around and hanging out. I appreciate you all listening. These will be up as separate videos in the morning. I will be back tomorrow night with Post-Game Theory as well. Last night of the Cup. There will be some fun stuff that happens, I'm sure. I'm excited. I appreciate everybody for hanging out. I appreciate you all for listening after the fact. Until next time, we'll talk soon.